we are more purpose-driven and heart-led, and we are really more concerned about the care because when your client is receiving a full aspect of care, you can sleep at night, right? You know that you have helped them. What is the worst thing in the world? To have a client and they have one issue and you just can't help them cross the bridge to fix it.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Birth Lounge podcast. You guys, if you follow me on social media, then you have probably already seen this message. But if you don't, I wanted to share a message from someone who is in the birth lounge and had a great experience with their provider in declining something that didn't feel aligned to them. Here's what she wrote. Hi, HeHe. I joined TBL last week and had an appointment with a doctor I had never seen before on Wednesday. He pressured me into getting an induction date on the calendar, and I was able to say no using the scripts in the birth lounge. I'm only 32 weeks, by the way. I've spent my whole pregnancy so nervous to advocate for myself and just wanted to say, just 1 week in, I did something I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. Thank you for such a wonderful resource. I wish all mamas had access to you and your team during their pregnancy. Oh, and my husband is loving the dad program too. You guys, this is the power of the birth lounge. And if you're not ready for full-on birth lounge support, I cannot more highly encourage you to download the birth lounge app. It's like the mini version of the full membership, but beware, I'm warning you right now. Once you get into the app, you're going to be totally addicted and want the full membership. Let me break down the app for you. You get evidence-based articles that not only break down the hottest topics that are coming your way in pregnancy, but also all of the data is linked. They're digestible articles that you can sit in the office of your prenatal appointment just a few minutes before seeing your doctor, scan the article, and get all the questions that you need to have to talk to your doctor confidently and have an informed discussion so that when you leave that prenatal appointment, you know all the answers that were once big question marks in your brain. We're talking things like having a big baby, induction, advanced maternal age, aspirin in pregnancy, GBS, labor dystocia, membrane sweeps, ultrasounds in pregnancy. I'm telling you, we cover it all, and it's right there in an app handy on your phone. At the end of each article, I also give you 10 questions to ask your provider, so you don't have to think of them yourself. These questions are going to set you up to get non-judgmental, unbiased answers. They're going to cover every single thing that you need to know about that topic, and it will help you make your decision in a really confident way. Plus, like everything I do, it's very respectful. So we want to really be building collaborative care between you and your provider, and these questions do exactly that. I get messages like this on the daily of people being able to advocate for themselves and achieve birth goals that they didn't ever think they were going to be able to do because of the support that we provide in the Birth Lounge membership. But like I say, if you're not quite ready to make the dive into the full membership, head to your app store on iPhone or Android and download the Birth Lounge app. You can go to your app store and just search the Birth Lounge app and it will pop right up. Download it directly to your phone and give it a try. The next time you're preparing for a prenatal appointment and you're wondering, gosh, what should I ask in these quick 6, 7, 8 minutes that I have with my provider? Log into your Birth Lounge app and I will give you all the questions that you need to ask. Can't wait to see you there. All right, on to today's episode. Now, I think we all know that the healthcare system that we have here in the US is truly broken. Or some people might argue that it's working perfectly as it was designed to do. Fragmented care, a lot of gaps in the care that people receive. Women are often silenced and or completely sloughed off and just completely not believed. However, what if we started to envision a world where we actually had continuity of care? It was within our reach to find the most perfectly aligned provider to us. What if we all had a list of resources of practitioners, both mainstream and alternative, that could help us have easier, more joyful, healthier, stronger pregnancies? What if you could find a provider that was culturally competent in the same walk of life that you come from, whether that be the same language that you speak, the same part of the world that you come from, or maybe it's just that they are so similarly aligned in their beliefs that every time you step into their office, it feels like a warm hug. And even better, what if all of the community of practitioners and providers worked together? Well, today I am so excited and honored to be interviewing Sally Hayes, the founder of Matrikas. She has spent the last 20 plus years as a prenatal and postpartum massage therapist, working intimately with thousands of clients through some of the most transformative chapters of their lives. Through her work, she has realized that there's a critical gap in maternal health landscape where there are countless talented practitioners. However, many work alone, disconnected from one another and often unsupported. Matrikas was born out of the need for more connection, collaboration, and community. A model of care that is driven by impact and results and improving the outcomes of families. Sally champions relationships based on referrals, cross-discipline education, and building a shared village that supports birthing people and the providers who care for them. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why a siloed approach actually doesn't work and it worsens outcomes for everyone, providers and patients. And why are we working in a siloed approach when we all believe the same thing? Sally's going to talk to our doulas out there and our lactation consultants and our chiropractors and massage therapists and acupuncturists on how can you actually overcome the obstacles that are keeping you from referring out. How do we solve that? How do you actually put together a list of referrals and resources that you can share with your clients if you are not a master networker? And how can you, as a mom, as a parent, as a consumer, utilize this information to build your village? Where do you find those resources? How do you get referrals? And how can this idea of a comprehensive, well-connected community serve you and your family deeper? I wanted to elevate Sally's message because this conversation is going to completely flip maternity care as we know it on its head. And I wanted to get it out to a global audience. Because once you hear how good it can be, you can't unhear it. So here's to changing policy, breaking through the red tape that has kept us down for so long, and creating a competent community that's going to improve outcomes for everyone. Without further ado, Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, HeHe.
Thanks for being here. Continuity of care, I feel like, is something I've talked about for many years. I've been a doula for 10 years, and my husband is in healthcare. And one of the things that we are very passionate about is continuity of care. And he does it within the medical system, and I do it being medical adjacent. And I feel like 10 years ago, when I got into being a doula, It was not a conversation. And it felt like I was using foreign terms. People didn't really understand continuity of care. I would speak to other doulas and they would say, I don't really know what you're talking about. Or I would use it on an interview with someone who was looking to hire me as their doula and they would say, what are those words that you're saying? What is that term that you keep using? I feel really proud that now a lot of people do know about continuity of care, at least the idea of it. But I think in today's episode, our listeners may be a little surprised to learn we still haven't nailed it down. We all know what it is, we all have it as a goal, but we're not quite doing it. And so I'm super excited to dive into that with you today. So thanks for being here. And I think I would like to start by kind of defining continuity of care before we dive into the nitty gritty. So when you talk about this comprehensive care approach to patient and client care, what exactly do you mean?
I want everyone to have access to a care team that speaks to each other and that refers to each other and that trusts each other. I think that you feel as a client or a consumer more held and taken care of if you know that your doula, for example, has your back in referring you to a lactation consultant and a pelvic floor PT and a postpartum meal delivery service. You are a trusted provider, and part of being a trusted provider is you should have trusted providers that are in your network and you're able to refer.
I love that. Okay, now the first thing that comes to my mind is we're in the era of social media is so fake. And so we've all become accustomed to questioning authenticity. How do I know that this is an authentic referral and that you're not giving me to this IBCLC because this IBCLC gives you $150 for every person that you refer them to, regardless of whether that IBC is actually skilled, is actually appropriately fit for that family, is actually helping families that they are supporting. I think that's a lot of people's hesitation in taking referrals is like, how do I know this is an honest referral and you're not getting any sort of kickback?
I think that's a fantastic question. And honestly, I don't know a lot of people that do referral fees.
Yeah.
Some do, but I think that's a little bit more in different industries. It's very common. I think within this industry, we are more purpose driven and heart led. And we are really more concerned about the care because when your client is receiving a full aspect of care, you can sleep at night, right? You know that you have helped them. What is the worst thing in the world to have a client and they have one issue and you just can't help them cross the bridge to fix it, right? My background was as a prenatal massage therapist and fully aware of the scope of that practice, right? If I was working with somebody 3 times and they were having hip pain and it wasn't changing in any measurable way, I'm sending them off to a chiropractor and a pelvic floor PT because now I'm just taking money from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other aspects, obviously, massage is still good, but I don't want to be a provider who is inauthentic. And I think we all have that at our heart. We really are authentic. And there are probably some providers out there that aren't as authentic and are, sit squarely in their integrity, but I can vouch for all of my members of Matrikas. I've vetted everyone and they are very authentic and highest level of authenticity and integrity.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I also think if you are a consumer, if you're a mom or a dad or a family listening, it's okay for you to ask that. You should just ask, like, hey, do you get any kickback from this? Hey, tell me about your relationship with this person. Hey, do you have any financial incentive to send me to this provider? I as a provider would love it if you asked that. I would be like, wow, this family is really thinking deeply about finding the right providers for them. And then you would hear me say, oh God, no, I'm sending you to them because I see them myself, or I've been practicing alongside them for the last 7 years and I've seen the good work that they do. Like Tranquility by HeHe, we don't have any financial kickbacks from any of our referral sources. But what I have done is I have made sure that I have seen everybody on our referral list for the most part. Of course, I'm just now having my first baby, and so I haven't been able to necessarily test out IBCLCs, but what I have done is I've attended meetings with my clients. I've gone to their visits or I have been at their home when the IBCLC has come. So while they've not practiced on me and my body and my breast and my baby, I have seen them in multiple settings practice on different people and different scenarios and with different issues that families are facing. And so that's my relationship. So I want you to know that you have the power to ask these questions and it's not awkward. I just actually had a conversation with a mom the other day and she was like, I'm not really sure if I should ask this. And I was like, you should ask me anything. You're about to pay me a lot of money to be with you at your birth. There is literally nothing that you cannot ask me. And I want you to know that about your doctor and your chiropractor and your massage therapist and doulas that you're interviewing. Like when you are a paying customer, there should be nothing off the table that you can't ask that person to ensure that they are the right fit for you. So I think that really segues us into kind of the next question. How would one go about building their referral list to make sure that you are finding the right fit? And is the goal to have, let's say, one person that you refer to that you know is like just jam up, they're amazing, they are so good? Or are you looking to have a couple of different options for different issues, different personality types, different service areas, different payment methods, meaning maybe some out of pocket, maybe some HSA, FSA, maybe some private insurance, maybe some Medicaid? What do you think is the best way for us as providers to go about finding people to be on our resource list and then vetting them and then actually building that resource list out?
I think that answers two things. One is when you were talking earlier about culturally competent care, I wanted to add in and completely forgot until you just mentioned this, that you actually shouldn't just have one referral.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should have multiple. And that's a way that you can be guaranteed that you're not getting referrals, right? Referral fees, that you're going to have multiple providers. But you should also have multiple providers to refer to because you have a variety of clients, right? But we're all individuals and we're all looking for different things. So some people travel in home, some people are virtual, some people have an office, some people take insurance, some people don't. You need to know a few of those key indicators for people so that you can refer appropriately. You want to make sure that you are taking care of people. You're not just handing them, like, these are really expensive in-home cash only if you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have the capacity to pay in that way. You have to know your client, which I'm sure doulas are pretty good with knowing their clients, but you have to understand where they came from, what their background is, what kind of their family structure is, what they're looking for, what their hopes and dreams are. I mean, there's a whole variety of how you're going to birth, right? And in the same way, there's a whole variety of providers that are going to take care of you. So I think that's a very important thing to note when meeting practitioners. And something that I always did was if I had a client come in and they said, oh, I'm going to the chiropractor next, I would say, who's your chiropractor and do you like them? And
Oh.
they would say, oh, yeah, or yeah, I love them. And I'm like, okay, great. My clients are always looking for chiropractors. I'd love to be able to refer. And then usually I would reach out to the chiropractor and say, I've seen a couple of clients that have mentioned your name, and I wanted to introduce myself and be able to refer people to you. Do you take insurance? And then ask a few key questions. And usually we would sit down for coffee or do a quick Zoom call to get to know each other a little bit more deeply so that I can confidently refer people.
I love that. So that's something that I do as well. And I'm actually really protective over my referral list. I don't take lightly to adding someone to our referral list. So we actually have two different lists. We have a referral list that we endorse, and it's called our endorsement list. And it means that either I have seen them or someone on my team has seen them, or like the IBCLC example, we have seen them in practice if no one on my team has actually seen them. And then we have a referral list that is simply community resources. And this means that we don't endorse them. We don't actually know that much about them. We have not been able to connect with them on a personal one-to-one level, but we are aware of their services. And we're uber clear about this. So if we were to pull somebody off of our community resource, our email to you would say, this is someone that's in the community. He does not know them, and we have not had any like previous past experience with them. However, they are in your area. They do take your insurance, and it looks like they're taking new clients, or and they take whole family plans for chiropractic care, or whatever your ask was, right? And so we're doing that back end work. I think one of the things that helps families who are growing their family is to do that mental load. And I think a resource list is such a great way to be able to do that and provide that to families, is that we are taking on that mental load. We're doing that research for them. We're not saying, oh, you just got to find a chiropractor and then they have to go home and Google and make a bunch of phone calls and ask on Facebook groups and then shoot in the dark and hope they get somebody good.
It's true. Google is your friend for a lot of things, but not necessarily when it comes to providers, because you have to remember that while Google ads are paid ads, they may have great providers who are using paid ads. You might also just be getting people who have the most money. So that's how and why I built this referral system, because I wanted to, obviously, when you care for clients, you want to take care of them, right? That's built in. So I felt that it was also a reflection on me to hand these out. So a lot of times if somebody asks me for referrals, I say I know them personally, or I have heard things from my clients that say that they're good, or this is a referral from someone else, but I don't know them personally. So I just want people to know who they're being handed off to. And sometimes if I don't know them personally, I'll add, I'd love to hear your experience with them if you choose to go with them. Sometimes you're not going to be able to put the perfect match together. You think two people are going to be perfectly matched, and really it comes from a different match that you're like, interesting, okay, but that also feeds you more information about how to refer to that person.
So as a provider, when someone asks for a chiropractor, am I asking them for specific things that they're looking for and I'm then giving them one name? Or do I pass along all five names on my referral list and say, here are the five chiropractors in our area that I love and trust, and I trust that they will care for you and your family in the same way that I do?
Exactly. I mean, it also depends on how much time you have, right? So sometimes somebody just needs an immediate referral and you don't have a ton of time to write out a dissertation, right? So you might make that guess, but I would always suggest at least offering three so that the families aren't overwhelmed, but they know that you've thought this through and that you do have more than one, in case you just send them one person and they don't like get along well with them, or there's something going on with them, and then they're left to go back to Google.
Okay, and what happens in the scenario? I grew up in Mississippi, which is, oh, poor Mississippi. More than 50% of the state is a healthcare desert, right? And so as we work with our families down south, we have services kind of across the nation for anyone listening being like, I thought you were in Boston. I am. And we are based in Boston, but we have services across the nation. So we have clients in all 50 states. And it's tough down there because truly, there have been cases where they're asking for a chiropractor. The nearest one is 50 minutes. That's 50 away, right? They're the only one in the entire area and they don't love them. And they're like, I really need the chiropractic care. I'm going for a VBAC. I know how important this is, but it's almost an hour away. And I just don't like love their bedside manner. And the next one that we can find genuinely is a 2 hour drive away and across state lines. And so now your insurance won't pay because you're having to cross state lines into Alabama. I mean, I'm telling you a real story. I'm telling you a genuine story that happened to us a couple years ago. We were really in a pickle and it really sucked as a provider because our team so desperately wanted to find answers for this mom and we felt like we were in between a rock and a hard place and it was horrible. It was really horrible for us just emotionally because we felt like we weren't being able to serve her in a way that she deserved. But at the end of the day, it's not like we could pick up a chiropractor and move it to her town, right? Like there was no way for us to get a chiropractor closer to her. So for people who are listening in rural America, or maybe not even rural America, but you just live in an area where your resources are kind of low, what advice do you have to them?
So here's where I think virtual work is so important. Now, I know there's nothing that compares to actually going to get a massage or going to get chiropractic care. However, through living through the pandemic, so many people have opened up virtual opportunities. Listen to me when I say, I have known people who did one virtual session with a pelvic floor PT and problem solved. I've known more than one person, to tell you the truth.
Totally.
Yes, like do not sleep on that. Like when people hear pelvic floor PT specifically, they're like, "Ugh, internal exam, I'm scared." I'm like, do a virtual session with them. I know plenty of people who have done one virtual session and been done. So it can feel overwhelming for you to think, oh, I've got to get an acupuncturist and a massage therapist and a chiropractor, and I've got to drive and I've got to schedule all these things. And what am I doing? And when am I going to take newborn photographs? But you, it shouldn't feel overwhelming. Most people should have a referral for you, at least one. I always like to say for providers, think of the power of five. I want you to have five solid referrals that you can refer to within your group because I think that's vitally important. But don't sleep on the virtual visits. You can get a lot of at home tips, work, things that can kind of pull the pieces together. And then you can still see somebody once in a while in person if you need to. And I grew up in Georgia, so I feel for you about the care deserts. And I'm hoping that by creating this national directory that I created, we can actually educate people about the types of resources that are out there and they can actually have access to somebody who may not live close to them
Yeah.
by doing a virtual visit.
Okay, I just want to tell you guys a little quick, like, sad story. A couple years ago, I was in the Bahamas and I was on my period, and so I used a menstrual cup. And I had appropriately sized it for myself when I purchased this cup. I had practiced putting it in and out before we gone on vacation, and I had used it for 4 days in the Bahamas on my period. And on the fourth day, I knew I had given myself a prolapse. I was like, oh my God, I have prolapsed my freaking something. Is it my vagina? Is it my uterus? Is it my urethra? Something is big and swollen in there. I basically have a bowling ball in my vagina. I am so scared. And you guys, this is like way pre-pregnancy. So I was already like, oh my God, I haven't had children. I'm in my early 30s. I have a prolapse. I did this to myself. What in the world? I called my PFPT, obviously spiraling. I'm crying. I'm like, you have to help me. We FaceTime. I'm naked as a jaybird. I lay the FaceTime on the floor and I stand over the camera. She is just staring into the depths of my vagina. Like it is the most vulnerable place. And she has me do a couple of exercises. She has me feel a couple of places. And we determined that in fact it was not a prolapse and that the cup had just irritated the inside of my uterus, and that what we determined was the cup suction was a little bit too much for what my pelvic floor personally could take. And do you know, I mean, I had done pelvic floor physical therapy for years leading up to that, but that virtual session changed my life. A, I was able to relax. B, she stopped me from spiraling. C, she gave me an answer to something that I was genuinely so afraid of. And in maternal health, I don't really find a lot of places where I'm scared because I feel very confident, right? I've been doing this for 10 years. There's a lot of stuff I know, but that was something that I did not know. And so I want to just like reiterate what you said, Sally. Like virtual care can be life changing. You guys, I was like literally so close to go into a Bahamian hospital to get help. Can you even imagine? I'm so glad I reached out to her and said, "Can you just take a look?" And it allowed me to get back to the US. And unfortunately, I actually didn't come back to Boston directly after that trip. I went to Arizona, who coincidentally enough, I actually have a PFPT referral in Arizona. And so I reached out to her and said, "Will you take a look at me?" And she said yes. I'm going to name drop here. Jen Morgan is who FaceTimed me and she helped do my virtual support. And then Jess London is the one that saw me in Arizona. And you guys, I cannot even tell you how much they helped me in that situation. So virtual care can be, oh my God, life changing. If you don't have someone in your area, try and do something virtually. Now, there are some things that aren't going to work. Would you say that a massage therapist can do a virtual support? Yes, you would. Oh, tell us
Absolutely.
about it. Okay, tell us about it.
Absolutely. I think most people can do some virtual support. Now,
Wow.
again, it's not going to be the exact same thing,
Sure,
obviously. It's not a substitute for your weekly sessions.
sure.
However, in between, there's definitely something. The amount of people that would come in and say, "Oh, my neck and it's tweaked," and I would always say, "I'm happy to massage you, but you need to wait about 48 hours. You really need to ice right now. There are things that you really need to do instead of coming in." And there are exercises, there's ice or heat, different things. If you're somewhere else, I can walk you through a few things that would support you for sure, and or refer you off to someone who you need to see. Sometimes it's like you in the Bahamas. Do I need to go to a hospital for this? Can I get this taken care of virtually? A lot of things can be taken care of virtually that aren't going to be as dramatic as we make it up in our heads. And lactation consultants can do virtual work.
Yes.
So many things that you think maybe can't be done virtually really can be.
Yeah. Look, I know the pandemic was super hard on a lot of us and it was filled with a lot of loss and a lot of grief, but I will stand behind something I've said for many years is that there were some positive things that came from it, and the expansion of access via virtual care is one of those things. And we're seeing now in studies, like truly funded studies, that virtual care does improve outcomes. We know that it improves outcomes with virtual mom groups. We know that it improves outcomes with maternal deaths when it comes to things like hypertension and having just virtual check ins with cardiologists. We know that it can help with the term is patient compliance, but I want to reframe that as in like follow up care. So if you're not able to make your 2 week visit, you can instead see your provider virtually instead of skipping. So I don't want you to think like compliance, having to like follow the rules, but more so like not having to skip provider visits when you're not necessarily able to get there. Virtual care is just so important. Okay, Sally, I have a question about the 5 providers that you just mentioned. Are we talking about 5 crucial individual people, or are you talking about 5 in each category? So, like 5 lactation consultants, 5 chiropractors, 5 massage therapists, or are you saying like Have your solid five: one lactation, one chiropractor, one massage therapist, one mental health counselor, one doula. What does the five mean exactly?
I think get five people
Okay.
who you trust and you know. Those five people are also going to have people that they trust and they know. I don't want to overwhelm people. Part of the reason that I created Matrikas was because everyone was so overwhelmed. They didn't have time to go out and network. They didn't have time to vet people and to meet people, but they still wanted referrals. So most people have 3 to 5 people that they know they can refer to and that they're very confident they know them on a personal and a professional level. And then from there, those people will also have referrals. So handing off your client to 1 to 5 people actually opens up their network to exponentially more people.
Yeah.
So I like to say that for providers because some providers are introverts, and we have members that are introverts and they will show up to our in-person events and they'll show up to our Zooms, but they're never going to be the ones on Instagram or loudly out there speaking on stages. It's not their thing, but sometimes they're like the best provider and they're just getting passed over because they're not the loudest in the room.
Yeah, couldn't be me. I wouldn't know that life. You know, I'm the
Me either.
one. I'm the one that's like emailing everybody, being like, "Hey, saw you were new to town. Wanted to just say like, welcome to town. I'm a doula. I'd love to take you to coffee. I'd love to hear about your stuff. I'm super extroverted to an extent, but then I have a really deep dig of introvertedness too, where I do actually need solitude, and I need mainly to just be with my husband. He's like my safe space. So I love to just like be at home in our cozy place, just like cuddling with him. And that is how I recharge myself. But yeah, I couldn't be me. I would not know that life of not being on stages and not being loud
Yeah.
on the internet, which actually leads me to a memory that I have when I first started out. When I first moved to Boston, and I first began being a doula, I had lived in the city of Boston for 1 year. So already I was in a new place and I was not established and I did not have a community of friends or people even at all in the city. I was really still kind of transitioning to city life from being in rural America. I had lived in Mississippi for most of my life, and then I did 2 years in Alabama while I was getting my grad degree. And it was a big shift to go from the Southern culture to the Northern culture, from rural America to city America. And when I became a doula in true HeHe form, that you guys all love this now, but it was really hard actually for me to do this in the beginning, but I did things very differently, as I always do. I never follow the norm, but following the mold for me is just painful. I don't want to be in anybody's mold. And so I started out back then, it was very traditional for doulas to have just 1 or 2 meetings with their clients. Nowadays, 10 years later, a lot of doulas do a lot more visits. I started out doing 4 or 5 visits, and people in the community really didn't like that. And I heavily relied on my master's degree and my marketing, and people really didn't like that either. I started out as a brand new doula and I started charging right off the bat. And back then, it was not the norm. You were supposed to work for several bursts for free. It was even normal back then to work for an agency and you actually paid the agency to work for them, which I quickly clocked as a scam. And I still stand behind that. I don't think that you should ever be paying somebody to work for them. That's a whole nother podcast. But I did not find that I was aligned with how the doula world was set up in Boston. And I was relentlessly bullied for about 2.5 years when I first started out. Enough that I had to actually get a lawyer and send a couple of cease and desist to people. They were making things up about my credentials. They were spreading false things about like who I was and my practice. It was really tough. And so if you find that you're in an environment where maybe you haven't been accepted into the community, or maybe you're a newcomer and you're not aligned with your community, or maybe your community just is so different from who you are or what you envision for your industry or your business. What advice do you have for those people? And I'll tell you guys how I did it after we hear Sally's professional advice, because I don't know that mine is professional, but I can certainly tell you what helped me.
I'm with you about not being fitting into a mold, so I don't know that this is going to be anything, any advice that I ever give. I always say, like, take it or leave it. It's not yours. I think it's a really good idea to follow your gut and follow your instinct. Look at what other people are doing and take that as a possible option, and then also make sure that it works for you. I love that you sat down with people and you reach out. I am constantly reaching out to people and just saying, hi. People are like, where did you find me? Why are you contacting me? I'm just saying hi. I see that you're a provider. Like, good for you. Great. Good for you. I'm everyone's hype girl. Like, I'm such a champion of everyone's work, and I'm so excited how passionate everyone is. And sometimes people mistake that for some sort of competitiveness. I'm not practicing anymore, so I don't have any dog in any fight. I want you to do the best work that you can, and I don't even care if you join my membership or not. I just want to hang out and talk to you about your work and what you're doing. And I'm not a competitive person because I'm not competing with anyone, because I can't be anyone else and no one else can be me. And that's just fact, y'all. Like, start there. And there are some people who don't embody that, but I think for the most part, people realize that we're all kind of doing stuff our own way. In not everything works for everyone. So you have to be true to yourself. You have to figure out what works for you, what your style is, and that's how you look for your perfect client, right? Your perfect client is going to be that person who really aligns with you. Don't water yourself down so that you're palatable for everyone and everyone's kind of lukewarm on you. Be exactly who you are. Be the extrovert, be the introvert, whatever it is. Don't try and shapeshift for anyone else, because the people who want to see you will be able to find you if you're authentic.
Yeah.
If you're not authentic, it's a lot harder to find you, and it's a lot harder to find your perfect clients.
Yeah. For me, what worked was a little bit of that, just reminding myself that it was okay for me to be different and do things differently. And it was actually a superpower, because while all the other doulas were offering the same exact services or the same exact approach, people who wanted a more comprehensive approach naturally gravitated towards me. And my business grew like wildfire, like wildfire. People are looking for what you give. People are looking for the services that you have, even if they're different. I would say more so if they are different. If they go to the grocery store and every single thing is a chocolate chip cookie, there is a portion of people who are looking for oatmeal raisin cookies. Be the oatmeal raisin, right? It won't be for everybody, but for the people who want an oatmeal raisin cookie, not only will they scoop you up, but they're going to tell all their other oatmeal raisin cookie friends, right? And that's how I really kind of dove into and embraced the fact that I was doing things different. And the second thing is, I took all of the list of who people in that kind of doula group commonly referred to, and I removed them from my list, because I knew that because that group did not like me, that those referrals were never going to serve me. So then I started fresh. I started going out in my community and finding people who weren't being referred to, and I started a relationship with them, and they didn't have any other doulas. Some of the people I approached had never even heard of a doula. And do you know that to this day, some of those people are still 10 years later my strongest referrals, because I reached out to them. I taught them what a doula was. I shared with them my approach. And as they slowly started to give people to me, those people would go back to them and say, hey, I started with working with HeHe. And she's freaking amazing. She changed my birth. She helped me avoid a C-section. She helped me find a new provider. She provided overnight care and got me so much sleep. Like they will go back and tell the practitioners that gave them your name how amazing you are. And so I kind of started like that. I went out and found what I call like untraditional people. They had not already made their way in the birth world. And that was also a selling point. So if you're a newer doula, you can say, I would like to help you tap into the birth community here. I would like to start to help you get more pregnant clients into your practice if that's something that you want. And you guys, don't be shocked if you say that and they're like, I'm really not that interested in serving pregnant people. That's totally fine. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means maybe that's not the best referral service, right? Or they say, like, I don't really see that many pregnant people. I mainly work with elderly people looking for PT. Okay, great. That's probably not the best fit. So move on to the next massage therapist or the next PT or the next chiropractor. You will eventually find somebody who either already serves a ton of pregnant people or they want to increase the number of pregnant people that they serve. And I think that is just super important to make sure that you are finding the right fit for you because that means they'll be the right fit for your clients too, right? You want to make sure that when you put your name on somebody, it is somebody that you truly stand behind. So, in these meetings, Sally, what kind of questions should we be asking these other practitioners to make sure that we actually are in alignment and that we can trust them to care for the families that we refer them to in a way that we also feel is filled with integrity and care and love, filled with the same way that we would care for them?
I think you have to come up with the top three things that are important to you first, and then you can extend that out. And also look at the clients that you're attracting. What are they interested in? What are they looking for? So you also want to know, do you have, like, financially, are they on a wild spectrum, or do you work with people who are specifically on Medicaid? Are you working with people specifically who are in more of the luxury sector? What is your niche there? It doesn't make sense for you to work in the luxury sector and then have people who are not in the luxury sector, right? So you want to find people that are aligned with you and your clients financially, but also, do they have a geographical location that makes sense, and or do they do virtual stuff? Because why are you going to go way out of your way to respond to somebody who most of your clients are in a different area, right? So I would say financial, geographical, and then your values have to align. So you
Mm.
have to make sure that when you're meeting people and you're talking to them, that you're just on the same page. And I think most people can kind of figure that out over a cup of coffee, whatever it is that your values are to you. One of my major values is radical acceptance. So I don't want to refer to anyone who isn't inclusive or accepting. I want to make sure people are safe. I practiced for a long time in Los Angeles, so I had a wide diversity clientele. I need to make sure that I'm sending people who are doing culturally competent care. And if I have trans clients, I need to make sure that I'm handing them off to a safe practitioner who specializes. I think that's vitally important as well, especially when you're talking about reproductive health. We need to understand where people are coming from and what their values are in this space. I was very fortunate to live and practice in Los Angeles for a very long time, and you get a little spoiled because there is a lot of acceptance because there are a lot of people. It is like wildly diverse, but it's still important to remember to check into some of those things, that you're not handing someone off to someone that you personally love, but may not be a safe space for that particular person.
Yeah, I think there are two obvious ones. We want to make sure that people are kind of racially accepting and LGBTQ accepting. Another thing that comes to my mind is size accepting. So we want to make sure that size bias is being checked. Are there any other things that we should think about as practitioners that if it's not your lived experience, we want to make sure that other practitioner is a safe space for them?
I think coming off the pandemic, you want to kind of go, are they pro or anti-vax people?
Okay.
I worked with all of them during the pandemic, which was a fun, wild ride. But also, people had very strong opinions about that specific issue. Now, I'm sure we're going to come across more issues as time rolls on, right? But that specific issue is a good one to think about. Are you sending someone who is adamantly against getting vaccinated to someone who is very pro-vaccine? And vice versa. I am neutral. I'm a very do what you want with your body. But I think that it's very important not to send people that are misaligned on major issues, especially during a time that those could be inflammatory issues. So being conscientious that you understand how people practice and what your clients are looking for is a good step to connect people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I too am like, do whatever you want. And I think that people have different levels of that radical acceptance, right? I am so radically accepting that some people would be like, is there anything that bothers you? And I'm like, not really. Like, I genuinely just want you to be happy and I want you to be like, choosing the decisions that make you feel supported. And that's regardless of what I would choose for myself or my family or what my client before or after you has chosen. I genuinely just want you to do what feels best to you. Not everybody is there in their idea of thinking when it comes to acceptance, and not everybody is even willing to get there. Some people feel very confident in not accepting certain things, and I do agree that's really important to kind of know.
Yeah, I think it's so important just to understand where people are coming from so that you can refer. I just wanted to echo what you said because it's so vitally important that you understand who you're referring to, and things will pop up and clients will usually tell you, but it also can reflect poorly on you if you're referring someone and you don't really know that they have this thing that they're maybe not as inclusive on, and you're sending somebody who needs that particular inclusivity. It looks on you that you didn't do due diligence, right? So you want to make sure that you are getting to know everyone enough and just ask those questions because I don't care what you are, how you practice, just let me know so that I'm sending the right people to you.
Yeah, everybody fares better, right? Like you fare better because you're given a solid referral. Your clients fare better because they are getting a referral that is safe. And then that practitioner fares better because they're not getting misaligned referrals. So everybody that you send to them will turn into a paid client for them. So genuinely, it is better to have that really good open communication. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, what do you do when you get a call from a client that says, I went to this massage therapist and they were inappropriate, or they made me feel uncomfortable, or something they said was did not sit right for me? Are you taking that person off of your referral list? Are you picking up the phone and calling that massage therapist to say, hey, I'd like to get your side of the story. Can we talk about this? Are you just simply putting a little asterisk by their name so that for future referrals you can include that and say they certainly, I don't know, they may be anti-vax or they may bring up your vaccination status. How do we handle that when we've referred somebody out and now we've gotten feedback that maybe they weren't exactly who we thought they were, or maybe they didn't give the care that they had portrayed that they would?
And that will happen. You will find that out. I think first you ask your client's permission, depending on the level of it. I mean, are we talking about legal issues? Are we talking about assault issues? Are we talking about it was just weird? Okay, we can talk through it was just weird, and then I'll note it. There's kind of an issue with male practitioners in this space. Some people think it's weird. They think it's just weird that a male would want to operate in a pregnancy space. I didn't have kids. Is it weird that I operate it? Maybe. Some people also think that's weird. Some people want you to be a mom, to understand the lived experience as well. If so, I'm not going to be your person, right? You're going to find somebody who has the experiential practice as part of their work. But just because they're saying, I don't know, it's kind of weird that a guy does that, does that mean that they were inappropriate with you? Did they cross any actual boundaries? Or is that just a feeling you have? You also kind of have to figure out, is that what's happening? So talking a little bit more with the client just to find out, and then asking permission, do you mind if I reach out? I would never say your name, but I want to have a conversation with this person. And then you note it. You never want to kind of blackball anyone when you don't really know the whole story. I have had people who have gone to like a certain practitioner that I heard the name of over and over again. And then I've heard like one time, oh, I didn't like that person. And then you start kind of putting that in there and then asking. But you also don't want to start asking in a way that was like, I had a client who didn't like that person. So do you not like them too? You don't want to lead anybody down the road, but you want to clock it. If you hear it two or three times, you want to figure out what is it? Is there a thread that's here or is it something totally different? But I think it's always good to have open communication. I have had, when I was a massage therapist, I had a whole staff of massage therapists. And so I trained all of my therapists and had a lot of cross-disciplinary training. So I would have fertility people come in and teach them the acronyms. I would have doulas come in, lactation consultants, like everybody come in and kind of teach what they do and how we can all work together. And people would call me up and say, hey, I saw a patient that was one of your therapist clients, and this incident happened. And you have to deal with it head on and just discuss. But it's not pretty and it's not fun, but those honest, authentic conversations are going to be the best way forward in every scenario.
And I love how you point out like it is going to happen. There are just some things that are par for the course when it comes to owning a business. And if you're going to have a referral list, you're going to have times where you do have a mismatch and you have to kind of determine, was this a personality misalignment or was there truly something that was inappropriate that went down? And that's hard, right? Especially for people like you and I who we try not to be the judgment guy. We try not to be the one that is, making decisions about who was or wasn't right or wrong in situations. And I think that sometimes it comes down to just your gut instinct. I can tell you that I've only removed two people from our endorsed referral list over all of 10 years, and they were both OBGYNs. And one of them, it happened over several different client feedbacks where they came back and told me certain things, and we did just asterisk them. And then for future clients, when we were referring them to that provider, we would say, we have had past instances where these things happen. So if you're comfortable advocating in these particular scenarios, just know that may come up. And then there was one OBGYN who we just took off. I didn't even need to talk to them. I didn't need their side of the story. I knew that my client was telling the truth. I did not need any sort of confirmation that it went down like that. No matter how you slice the pie, our team had a conversation about it, and it was like, no matter how we slice this pie, there is in no circumstance where this would have been appropriate, and there is in no circumstance where in the future we would feel comfortable sending one of our families to this practitioner. And so we just simply removed them from our referral list. And I think that when things like this happen, especially in a world now where we're in this era of accountability and we want to hold everybody accountable, it can feel really easy to be angry and say, I'm going to go to social media and I'm going to blast this about what happened. And I want to caution you in doing that because I often find that in cancel culture, yes, it may cancel the person that you're aiming to cancel, but in my opinion, and this is why you never see me canceling people online. You guys know I'm not part of cancel culture. I refuse to be part of it. People can cancel me all day long. I don't engage with that either, but I won't cancel people. And the reason being is I think it's more of a reflection of your emotional intelligence than it is of canceling that practitioner that you're actually aiming to cancel. The best way that you can cancel someone and truly make an impact, stop sharing their name with other people. Stop telling people to go see them. Instead, tell your clients who they can see instead of that practitioner. Tell them who is safe in your community. You don't need to blast someone and say they're bad, they're dangerous, they're this, they're that. You can just simply say, if you're looking for a safe provider, here is this person. If you're looking for someone who's culturally competent, here is this list of people. If you're looking for an IBCLC who is friendly to all feeding ideas, this is going to be your person. And so I just want to caution you. I'm not going to obviously tell you not to do it because you should do whatever you want to do, whatever makes you feel right. And I do think that there are some circumstances where sharing with a larger community of what did happen is the right thing to do, especially for really dangerous providers. But 9 times out of 10, I think cancel culture is probably not your smartest business move. So before you take to the internet, just make sure you take a beat, you take a breath, you're taking a few days to really think about what's your goal with canceling them. What are you going to be achieving? And will putting it on the internet in the way that you're doing that actually achieve that goal? Or is it just going to reflect poorly on you and your business?
And it's probably going to reflect poorly on you. Now, if there's a legal issue or any sort of really misappropriation, you have to deal with that in a legal way.
Totally.
That I just want to say that as one caveat. Like if something happened to you that you feel that was a violation of your boundaries, then go to the proper channels. That being said, there's going to be a lot of different personalities. This is some specific work, right? Like I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You're not going to be either. So I think that's where the power of five comes in. You find your five people that you really understand that your values and your beliefs align, and you refer to each other from that place. I think you'll have a much better time. And you're going to have things that are going to come up. I mean, we've all made mistakes. We're all going to continue to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not growing,
Yeah.
right? So, like, what's the point in worrying about it? I think it's a little, I want to be Southern for a minute and say tacky to go online. I don't know a better word than tacky for that, but it's just kind of tacky to go online and start putting someone else's name out there to cancel them. Who cares? Move on. Move on. I don't waste my energy on anything like that. I want to find the common way forward and to find the best thing. We only have the same amount of hours in a day, right? Why are you so worried about what someone else is doing? Support each other and move forward. Let them do what they're doing over there.
And the truth of the matter is, if that person is out there just talking badly about you, their clients are probably not fit for you in the first place. So, guess what? You're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out on clients. You're not missing out on dollars. You're not missing out on experience. They have attracted a certain group of clients and they are not fit for you. And that is something that really helped me out when I was a newer doula, is to just remind myself that anyone that would speak badly about me without actually knowing me or having a conversation with me first were not attracting people who were appropriate for my services or my personality anyway, because I would never do that to somebody. I would never speak badly about someone that I had never met or even had a conversation. It's like, how do you know them? You don't even know what you're really saying.
When you're telling on yourself, you're telling that's what you are focused your energy on. Does that sound like a competent provider? Do I want to listen to gossip from a provider or do I want them to be focused on my care?
Oh,
That's
such
how I feel.
good wisdom. Oh, I wish I had you around 10 years ago when I first started and I mean, it's hard. It's hard to have a community of people talking badly about you when they don't even know you and they're not open to a conversation. And when you reach out and say, let's go to lunch, they totally ghost you and they're not even open to it. So for anyone out there who is new or you're in a community that is kind of mean girlish, because it happens. I talk to you guys all the time online and you'll say like my community is very small and it's just like I can't get accepted into the community. It's really hard. Women are notoriously mean to each other. We just are. We like historically just are catty to one another. And I think that places like yours, Sally, and places like the Birth Lounge, we're really cultivating this new experience. That is not what we're doing. That is a patriarchal idea that has meant to keep women oppressed and keep us at each other's throats. Whereas when we work together, we're actually so much powerful. And I actually think the bigger systems know that. And I think that's probably why they did that. They realized, oh shit, if all these women get together, they're gonna overthrow us. And it's like, yeah, we
Yes,
probably will. We are
yes, we
really
definitely will.
powerful,
We are actively working on it.
Yes, actually, you should be scared. Like, be scared. No, I genuinely am so appreciative of the space that you have built because I do know that it's a safe space. And I do see that us working in these siloed segments actually does just create a fragmented experience for our clients where when we are working together cohesively, it's just so much better. It's better for you. It's better for me. It's better for our referral systems. It's better for our clients. And the only person that actually pays is the system. And that's our goal in the end, anyway, is we are trying to dismantle this system that is not serving anybody. And we want to rebuild it bigger and better. And I think that we have the answers within all of us. And I think when we get together, we actually are going to completely change our system. And I'm super, super excited for that day to come. Okay, before we got started recording, you had shared that you wanted to get this idea into colleges. And I think that my response was, ooh, that is good. So tell us a little bit about what do you envision there? What would that look like and why?
I am a huge advocate of getting your team together before you think you need them. So, we have an annual event every year in Los Angeles called Build Your Village, and it's so that you can come meet your providers, right? We always talk about it takes a village, but how do you build that? How do you find your village? So, I actually have this wild revolutionary idea that we should know about providers before we need them. So, I want you to be talking to a lactation consultant during pregnancy. I want you to be talking about pregnancy before you even try to conceive. So I think the education really should go back to sixth grade. But let's start with college campuses because I think that's doable. I think that we should all be speaking on college campuses. You should learn what a doula is. You should learn what a pelvic floor PT is. You should learn what fertility treatments look like and how to set yourself up best. Our history has been we threw everybody on birth control. I'm not against birth control. We should all have access to it. But we're all thrown on birth control, told not to get pregnant, don't do anything to get pregnant. And then you turn up at 35 or 42 and you want to get pregnant, and we have no idea what to do. So the education needs to start much, much younger. And I really want you to meet your providers before you think you need them. Oh, I'm not pregnant. I don't need to know what a doula is. Yes, you do. You need to prepare yourself. I advocate for preparing to conceive 3 to 6 months ahead of time, getting your lifestyle right, getting your providers that you're going to need to. Now, I don't mean you need to go to a fertility clinic and run through 1,000 tests, but get to know the basics, start learning things. I'm not saying that you're going to experience infertility. Even if you do experience infertility, I want you to have access to all of the providers you could possibly have and all of the education before you go through that process. So that's where I stand on education. I think all of these providers should be mainstream. We've been kind of left in the fringes. And I'd like to see more public education. I think that we would not have the ridiculous government policies we have if we understood really the cycle, female anatomy, the whole thing. It's all been left out. And college kids don't even know, which is crazy, right? Like we just now the big thing is menopause, perimenopause, right? You're barely getting a hold on what your cycle entails and what week you should do what. And then you're turning around and you're thrown into perimenopause or menopause, and that's a whole other factor. So our education levels are extremely low.
Yeah,
in
man.
this country.
You want us to be prepared. How wacky of you, Sally. That's such a
So weird.
crazy, far out idea that you have. You must be some sort of conspiracy theorist. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my very last question for you is for any consumers, moms, families, dads listening, how do they now utilize this information? Now they kind of know, like, oh, my practitioner probably has a referral list. Oh, my doula probably has a referral list. Is it as simple as just asking those people for a referral or asking those people and then kind of having a conversation, maybe having a phone call interview with an IBCLC during pregnancy? How are they going to actually utilize this information to build their village?
Yes, it is that easy. You just start the conversation. You start educating yourselves. What do you need? What would you like? Especially if you're in a partnership and you're going to have a child while being partnered, you want to also talk to each other. What are you expecting? This is also an issue I'm sure you see. One partner wants a doula, the other one doesn't, or they have differing ideas, or they came from different family structures, and the families have different ideas about how they're going to birth and how they're going to do postpartum, right? You want to make sure you're on the same page, but do you want to, what if there's birth trauma? Are you opposed to going to see a therapist? Are you actively happy to go see a therapist? Do you even know what that entails or what that looks like? So start talking to your main provider, whoever that is. And sometimes you've got people that are just busy and they are not going to have time for a referral. But if you're, let's say that you're pregnant and you have a doula, doulas, by the way, are a wealth of information. That is going to be the main source of information. I always, whenever I talk to people, I'm always like, are you referring to doulas and getting referred by doulas? Because postpartum doulas hear everything. Birth doulas hear everything, right?
Yes, we
And
do.
you've probably gone through this before. So you know the person that's going to help support that. Like we have a ton of different members. Like we have a sex coach that's one of our members, right? Right. So I'm always like, you need to talk to postpartum doulas. That's when they're going to need you, and fertility docs. There's a lot of different ways, but there are people that you may not realize you need a referral for. And that's when you turn to your professionals that you trust and start there, and they'll refer you to someone else.
Oh my God, Sally, I love this so much. You are such a wholesome human. I love your heart. I love what you've built. I love how aligned we are in so many of the things that you have said. And I really do think that you're onto something about this siloed care creating a fragmented experience for our clients, and that the more that we practice in a cohesive way, the better every single person will fare. You, me, other practitioners, our clients. And I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And I want to thank you for building Matrikas. If people wanted to connect with you, learn from you, share their story, learn about your membership, how can they do that?
You can go to our website. We are matrikas.com. It's going to be in the show notes. Check us out on Instagram. We are Matrikas on Instagram. I'm very friendly. I run this all by myself, so you can reach out to me through any of those platforms. If you're a provider, you can apply for membership. I'll discuss everything once you apply and we'll chat. If you just want to hang out on Instagram and show each other some love, do that too. We.r.matrikas.
And you
And we're
also have events. So tell us about your events that are kind of around the US.
Yes. So we have practitioner meetups. So as a member, you come to virtual and in-person events. And even if you're not yet a member, you can come and visit and check out. But we are quarterly events in Los Angeles, quarterly events in New York and New Jersey, and also Detroit, we just added. So if you're in a city that you're interested in, I can't even name the next cities that we're going to, but there's some exciting ones. Atlanta's definitely on my radar. I grew up in Georgia, so everybody knows we're going to do some Atlanta fun stuff. But there's some other cities that are going to pop up. But if you're in a city and you're interested in hosting a meetup, or you want me to come and get all the practitioners together in your town so that you can build your referral list real quick and easy, just let me know.
I love that. You guys, wasn't this such a good episode? I know that so many of our episodes are meant for families and parents and moms and dads and people who are growing their families, but you know that I also want to love on you, our doulas and our L&D nurses and our practitioners, our massage therapists, our chiropractors, our PFPTs, our acupuncturists. You are also very much part of this village. You are safe here. I see you. And I tell you what, this village would not be anything without you. So thank you for being here. Even though it may feel like I do a lot of talking to our families, I know that you're there and I feel your love. And I don't want you to ever feel like I'm not talking to you either. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that if you are a newer doula out there, this gave you a lot of confidence in how you can start your referral list. And I hope that if you are an elder doula out there, this has given you some tips and tricks of how you may want to refine or refresh your referral list so that you can get a little bit better referrals going for yourself and also give much more targeted referrals to your clients so that you can improve their outcomes and their experience while working with you, which is just better for everybody. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to follow Sally on social media, and you can find me at Tranquility by HeHe and at the.birth.lounge. Until next time, head to your app store and download the Birth Lounge app for evidence-based childbirth education and data-driven postpartum support delivered straight to your phone. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love hanging out with you, and it is an honor to be your go to gal when it comes to preparing for your baby. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and tell others why they should be listening to the Birth Lounge podcast too. You deserve to have a birth that you love with a provider that values your autonomy and respects informed consent without all the trauma that you so commonly hear about on social media. New episodes air every Wednesday and Friday. Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. I'm HeHe, and this is the Birth Lounge Podcast.